So this week we're talking about the double underpass. The double underpass, all for me, comes down to this one lock-in position, okay? And that is the position where I'm double scooped under his legs, and I have quads in my hands. My pinkies are on the belt, or on her hip bones, and my elbows are not flared out at all. So some people do this from here, but not me. I believe that having the open elbow is a vulnerability. So I like to have my elbows closed to my body, which means I can't connect my hands. So instead, I just cup the quads. But this right here is the lock-in position. So just for a moment to talk about the benefits of being here, if I'm in this position right here and I'm sort of facing him, it's nearly impossible to catch me with almost any submission that we normally do, okay? He's gonna have to make some serious movement to change, our symmetry, or to get my posture or distance all messed up, okay? But if I can maintain this lock-in position, I'm safe. I'm safe from arm bars, of course, because both arms are underneath. I'm safe from triangles, of course, because both arms are underneath. And the only thing that's left really is gonna be chokes, and if I'm a little bit mobile with my chin, which we will work on, I should be hard to catch in chokes as well. So this lock-in position is a pretty safe place to be, okay? So think of this week and think of the double under as all about this lock-in position, and then entries to it and finishes from it. But this is the point in time I want you to really make a goal of yours to achieve. So once I've locked in, the first thing to talk about from the lock-in position is just not losing it because they can touch my hips. So we're gonna do a little bit of practice of, he tries to put his feet on my hips. If he touches my hips with his feet, it means I wasn't close enough. And to solve that problem, I can use my elbows. So I'm just lifting backwards to get them off, and then I'll get a little bit closer. And then I wanna hunker down again. So can you put your feet on my hips now? No? Okay, good. Another major problem for me would be if he gets an inside hook. Yeah, it's over now. Now I would totally exit this position, and that's not even a lock-in anymore remotely. So if he gets a leg inside, he got way too much space, abandon the pass. Abandon the lock-in and restart. You got to pummel the leg back in. Beginning from here, we know it's a problem if they touch my hips with their feet. So we have to put ourselves in the other person's shoes once in a while and think about how's she gonna do that? If I get too close, if I'm too close for her to touch, what's she gonna do? And I looked around the room and I saw some of you guys basically solving that, and it's gonna be shoulder walking. She's gonna try to shoulder walk herself away from me. So she does this, good, and then suddenly she can make contact. So what do I have to do? Well, if I do what I just did and I shed this and I get close and she keeps doing that and I keep doing that, then we're moving. And when we're moving, my position is less stable. It is less stable. So what I want is I want a way to achieve this position, hold this position, and lock it in place. The way that I'm going to lock into this position is two ways. Number one, you have to, and this is a little woo-woo, but you do have to believe you can't be moved. You have to believe that you can't be moved, right? Because you trust your position so much, but there is a positional detail I can give you that's going to help you, and that's sort of the other thing you need to do. And that thing is to tuck your pelvis. I mentioned it before. It's something we do when we want good posture and we don't want to be moved, and it's also something from here that becomes very important when you don't want to be moved. So tucking my pelvis means sitting my tailbone underneath myself. So if I do those two things, tuck my tailbone and believe, then she should not be able to get the kind of distance that I'm going to have to chase, and she moves and I chase, and then suddenly I'm losing ground. Okay, so I'm going to get to where I want to be. I'm here. Now I'm going to tuck my tailbone, and I'm going to believe, and she's going to try and move. Okay. So shoulder walk back or fishtail or whatever. And you can't touch my hips still with your feet? Still can't. I'm still close enough. And I'm talking to you normal. It's not like a major exertion on my part. Okay. Tucking my tailbone, what it does is, if I show you sideways, when I'm under the legs, if there's a curve in my spine here, then when she starts to move away, it breaks me at that joint. But if instead it's a continuous circle and it goes into these two kickstands, then all the pull that she gives me, the pull goes through my body, and now it turns the corner because it's round, and it goes into these two kickstands. And so I do not move forward, and that's on any size opponent, okay? So this, if it's round like this, my back's round like this, then when she pulls, there's like a joint there. But if I take that joint away and I make it round, all the pressure goes into my kickstand. So it's actually a very strong position to be in. Not to understate how important it is that you believe that you can't be moved, because I mean it. It makes a big difference when you're like, no, when you just tell yourself, no, I'm not moving, okay? So we've now felt that with the fishtailing, if I anchor myself in place, that she'll just move back and forth in place, okay? And there's actually a bit of a wormhole through the rest of this pass, basically a shortcut to the end of it. If somebody's fishtailing, we're gonna do it like if they're fishtailing hard. When she goes, this is my left. When she goes left, all I need to do when she goes left is reach with my left hand, and the pass is done. Especially the higher level of commitment she has to that fishtail. So what I'm gonna have you guys do is probably just go left, left, and then go with your left, and then right, right, and then go with your right. I want you to see what it's like for the person to be close, because that's the problem for her. She brings herself close, so I can just reach. I can just reach her shoulder, and I can skip all of the getting around my lap and reaching across that way. So I'm here, I'm in tight, and she's gonna go left, right, and when she comes back left, especially when it's dynamic, especially when she's moving, all I do is reach for her shoulder, and the leg just flops to the side. And then we'll do the other side. She's gonna go right, left, right, and when she's close, I reach for the shoulder. When I hold that shoulder, basically the leg is gonna clear your head. Okay, so practice watching your person and think to yourself, left, right, left, because the side they're on is also the hand to use. When they're on the left, use your left. When they're on the right, use your right. When I get to the lock-in position, there's one thing that people can do that can throw a wrench in the works. And this is actually a good idea for the bottom person, good defense, and that is he can nail his legs to the floor. He can get heavy, downwards heavy pressure. Yes, because now, reaching for his shoulder, pulling him on my lap, everything just got harder, right? So he's heavy in a downward direction. So when he does that, I'm gonna put my head on one side. So I'm gonna put my head to the left, put my right shoulder on him, and I'm gonna hold, in the gi, you can hold the pants. In no gi, I find that if I hold his leg, it's fine, so that's sufficient. And now with the weight on my shoulder on his belly, so you will carry each other's weight, I hop over. So it's just that he decides to be low when I was gonna lift, and if he's gonna be low, when they go low, we go high. Okay, so I'm in the lock-in position, and he gets heavy legs. Yeah, he takes them off my shoulders, so this just got difficult to lift and move forward. So I'm gonna put my head down on one side, put it down on the right, and that means that my left shoulder is on his belly, and my left hand is gonna reach back and hold his calf. I'll do the other side so you can see this. And then you can hop over to side control one more time. I'm here, he's heavy. The reaction is usually, oh, I shouldn't have done that. I made my legs low and he just jumped over them. But people making the legs heavy is a common response and not a bad response either. It's actually not a bad response. But if you're quick with a good response to their response here by hopping over the legs, it's a good answer to that problem. Finish number one from the lock-in position is going to be just kind of a stacking pass. What I'm going to do is I need to get him on my lap, and to do that, I don't just pull his potentially loose body. That's really hard. We are giant bags of water. Moving somebody who's just relaxed is incredibly difficult. So instead, I'm going to lean on him until he gives me energy. When he gives me energy, that's really what it is. It's a gift. When he gives me energy back, it makes him really light, and it's easy to get him on my lap. Once I pull him on my lap, the direction was my heels toward my butt. So my heels really go toward my butt, and then I go up, and I'm going to reach for his shoulder, and I turn my knee. It's almost like a superhero pose, and I want you to remember that because that's what it should look like at the end. So I lean, I pull him on my lap, I come up to here, and now look, I'm reaching for the shoulder, but this knee is rotating up so that there's nothing in this space so he falls into it. And from here, I'll come down to side control. I lean so he becomes stiff so that he's easy to pull onto my lap. And now I'm rotating, reaching for his shoulder. My knee is rotating up, and then I'll come down. I like to get this elbow pretty much as soon as I get here, just to slow the person down from rolling away. So I lean, and then I can hoist him, come down. And I like to catch this elbow because it makes it hard for him to roll away from me. I'm anchoring my elbow on him, holding his elbow. It is a backward motion to row him onto my lap, and then an upward motion, and then I twist my body, and that's how I'm passing. But if it's a total L, it'll be hard to get up, meaning if I lean in and he gives me pressure and I go back to my heels, it is now hard to go up. But rather than going back and then up as two separate steps, it will make it a lot smoother if, when he pushes, I go back and up sort of in one movement. That's one sort of pro tip. The second is, when I reach for the far shoulder and I open this knee, this grip on the hip can help me twist him up. So do you feel how that's actually twisting? I'm manually rotating his hips, manually, like with my hand. So one more time, to put those two details in place, if I've got my grips and I lean in and he pushes on me, I go back and up, and now I'm reaching for his far shoulder, but I am holding on here. I am manually twisting his hips. It makes it more uncomfortable, and it's going to guarantee I land in a better spot when I come down. When you pick him up, it shouldn't be back and up, although I do need them on my lap, so there is a back component to it. It should be back up. Like my butt should bounce off my heels basically immediately up here. And then when you reach, also pull the hip, pull the hip. It twists the hips. It's less comfortable for this person, but you'll find it more effective as a pass. Our second option is a gi option. This is the second option to finish a pass from the lock-in, and this one involves holding the belt. When I hold the belt, I actually want to pull it down, and now once his belt is sort of next to his hips and my hands are next to his body holding his belt, I have one of the best grips I could possibly have on his hips. And if passing the guard and so much of jiu-jitsu does come down to hip control, then this is a real boon to catch the belt and then control him at the hips with both my arms safe. Like, this is a very good place to be. So an even better lock-in is the gi version holding the belt. Okay? And with this, I'm going to do the same kind of rowing action to get him on me. Although when I have the belt, honestly, I do have such a good purchase on him that a lot of times, unless they're way bigger than me, I can just row him onto my lap. I can just pull him and row him onto my lap. But if you had to, if it was a big person, you could lean, and when you get the energy back, you could row him onto your lap. Now, I have his hips on my lap, and the first thing on his body touching the floor after my knees is his shoulder blades. So when I hip forward, I'm actually going to be able to put his hips over his shoulder blades. And that puts his feet sort of in front of me where I can see them. He's almost tipping over backwards, and from here, I'm going to put my ear on his belt, and then I'm going to try and go over his arm, but under his head when I take the top of side control position. We didn't do that before because the left hand was reaching across for the shoulder. We were in this position, so it would have been hard to go back this way. That's why I have you catch the elbow. On this one, my left hand's pretty free once I bring my head to that side. So I'm here. I row him onto my lap. I hip forward, and now I can pick, but I'm going to put my ear on this side of his belt here. I go over this arm and under the head to finish. And this now is the mechanism by which I stop him from rolling away because his arm would be left behind. From the lock-in, this time I'm going to grab the belt. Switch to the belt. You can lean for the pull, but the pull is get him on your lap. Hip forward so his hips are over his shoulders. His feet will appear and bring my ear to his belt. And then I'm going over his arm, under his head to consolidate top position. I have a safety tip on this pass. And also I want to show you the number one sort of question I get about this, like the contingency if they try to back roll to turtle, which it does look like they could do pretty easily since we're turning them nearly upside down by our own movement. So let me show you why that's not a problem, but I want to show you this safety tip as well. The safety tip really is simply when you come forward, I want everybody to be aware that he's on his shoulder blades now, but if I go a little further, he'll be all on his neck, okay? So if you guys are going to be practicing this with your training partners and stuff, you don't really want to put each other on your necks. nor do you want to be put on your neck. So both people should know when they see this pass, I shouldn't be putting him on his neck. And if he doesn't want to go onto his neck as I start moving forward, he can kick his legs to the side and he can say, you can have it. Okay? So that's the safety piece. The safety piece is let's not ever be stacked on our neck. Okay? Too many of us in the old days let that happen too many times, and I have too many friends with like fused spines and stuff because of just doing it over years. Don't ever do it. If you go to your shoulder blades and it looks like they're going to pass, give them the pass, kick your own legs over. That's a good safety tip. Okay. But why shouldn't he do a nice safe back roll to turtle? It looks like, because I've rode him onto my lap and then hipping forward, that it should be easy for him just to get away from me. Okay. This is where we have another benefit to basically the belt grip. The belt grip, which I am mostly like holding to me, but a little bit lifting. It is lifting with my body. It's mostly lifting. If he starts to roll, I just push it down. And you'll see the result. When he tries to do a back roll, he kicks his legs both basically to one side of me. And when I push the belt down, they just flop, and I am finished with the pass just by his effort. So we'll rock him onto me, roll him onto me. And when I go forward and he starts to roll, I just push his belt down, and now I'm on top. I'm still holding his belt. Now I'm on top, and I can start gathering an elbow or something to keep me on top. So one more time. I roll him onto my lap. I start to go. If he starts to roll, I push his belt down, down. And I still am holding it until I can get some kind of grip that's going to help keep him on his back instead of turning away from me too far. Given that this is our lock-in position, okay, that I want to get to, and we have a couple different finishes to this pass from there that we've been working on, we have to get there, okay? The first entry to that lock-in position that we're going to do is just from closed guard. This is going to be pretty standard to start with. It looks a lot like our single under pass, hands on the abdomen, and I'm going to open this one, center, step back at an angle, and whether or not his legs break, I should have some daylight right here, enough for me to put my palms toward myself and shoot both hands in at the same time. I would not go 1, 2, because that's a little bit of a triangle danger. Yeah, so I would go both. Both go in, and then I hold his leg with my body. I'm pinning this with my chest, and the other leg steps up, and I'm blocking his hip here. I block his hip for a number of reasons. One is so that he can't just hip away. I am holding his straight leg, and if he hips away, he might escape his leg. That's a big one. But this is snapshot number 1. This is where we're trying to get you. So remember what this looks like. So again, was here. It's open, center, step. His legs either break or they don't. It doesn't matter if they don't. I'm going to shoot my hands through here. Hold his leg, and then step this leg up. Open, center, step back at an angle. This is snapshot 1. And then snapshot 2, I mean, from here, I'm clear to bring my hand across here and go right into what is our lock-in position, which is snapshot 2. So go ahead and start from closed guard. And then this hand goes right through the space that my knee creates, right to here. So there's a couple things that can go wrong when you're doing the closed guard entry to that lock-in position. I'm going to open, center, step. And when I shoot my hands in, you'll get this. Guys, squeeze. You'll have partners that just squeeze you, okay? So, I mean, I can do this, but I'm like pretty off balance. It's hard to even step up. If you get squeezed, you can put your palms on the floor, and you can back your hips away from your hands. This opens the legs because I've become too big a sandwich to take a bite of. Okay. So I was here, and his legs were crossed, and he's squeezing me, and everything's hard. I can't bring this hand across like I want to. I can't even set my leg up because it's just like very strong squeeze. Palms down, back away, and I'm sort of circling his hips. I'm not backing away from him. I'm sort of backing around him because now I can go back to here and finish setting up my move, okay? So open, center, step, go here. Like that. There's another thing it's actually not even a major problem, but another thing comes up sometimes when people haven't seen what you're doing. So I'm going to open, center, step. I'm going to dive this in and step up. And in this position, sometimes people will, especially in a world in which leg locks are popular, they might start looking for, hey, can I do something if I underhook this leg? So he'll underhook the leg. If he underhooks the leg, he's just buying what is essentially a distraction, because when he holds that leg, I only need to bring this elbow up. I don't need to bring my hand up. Elbow up and use my forearm to finish passing the legs. And now I'm perfectly fine in side control. So it's actually not a problem, but it looks like maybe something he could use. So you'll run into people that do that. So from here, if he reaches in, I just bring my elbow right along my thigh up to the ceiling. Don't bring your hand out. This is more dangerous than just this. And then pass it with my forearm. That's it. Now I'm in side control. Let's look at butterfly entries. So like I have an entry to this lock-in position when my opponent takes butterfly position. And this is a stupid simple movement, but actually works if they're in this kind of symmetrical butterfly guard just sitting in front of me. And what it is I get up to my feet and I crouch here, and then I'm going to drive both knees into the center of the hoop of his legs. Following my knees are my hands. My hands are here, and when my knees go in, my hands follow up. I put my head on the chest, and that puts me in the lock-in position. So from here, whatever helps you get up into a crouch, maybe putting a hand on the ground. I crouch. I'll lead with my knees. My hands will follow my knees though. So my knees go in, and then my hands follow. My head is the thing that pushes him backwards so that I can close the distance. It may look like he has something to hook when my feet are over here and I put my knees in, like my shins, but it's not a very effective hook, and by the time I have him leaning back, which I do with my forehead on the center chest, it's impossible really to keep those hooks. So I pop up, my knees first, and I'm here, and it puts me right in lock-in. Very simple entry. The same crouching entry works from standing. So even from here, if I'm having trouble figuring out how to enter and I'm putting one in and he's kind of fighting me, you can decide to put two knees in, knock your person over. So we can also enter from standing. This is something I want to talk about. Standing in front of the somebody in open guard. From here, it's a problem because these are decent hooks and people can be very good with sticky hooks. So what I want to do is, to free the first hook, I'm just going to put my hand on the knee so there's a little bit of outward pressure, And then this, my knee, which is above his shin, I'm just going to cut a line right over the top of his shin and then straight to the ground. So a little bit of pressure here just to keep it where it is, and then I go like that. Same thing on the second side, I cut my knee right to the ground, and then I'm already working my way in. So again, my hands follow my knees. My knees are cutting a straight plumb line down just over the shin. So we're here, it's just this. You notice I let my lower leg bend so that this spears the ground. Don't hurt yourself. But now a little pressure here because I want to keep it out there so that my knee actually does come over, and then it's a straight line down. And again, my hand follows, and I should be here. And you have to close the distance so they don't make contact with their feet, but we're there. So with the hooks, I'll start on the other side. This one cuts in, this one cuts in, and then I get close enough to pass without too much trouble with the feet on the hips.